me, Ninsoni. Welcome back to Project DX. Today we are here in a custom map that I've been working on, which is a slightly modified version of something you've seen before, of course. And it's a great place to test a bunch of 3D stuff and weighted physics objects. Now, the main thing that I've been working on here is not really the physics, but more the objects and making them look quite good. Also getting the basic interactions back in, and prop functionality, which is the ability to actually functionally control the objects. So I have put in, of course, a physics gun. Now, as you can see, I can actually grab and throw things, and of course, literally like grab this, bring it, bring it over and grab it, and then bang, bang, bang. Right? Pretty fun. Except, unfortunately, I haven't completed my add-on system as part of the physics gun. So for deleting items that you can spawn, I have instead used this red one here. And you can see it removes them. So I put a separate weapon instead of just like a mod to this. Later on, this is going to be the sort of ultimate tool gun, the super master physics gun that can handle pretty much everything. This is the sandbox stuff. Now, this game I did intend for more than just a sandbox, of course. So this is more the armored sandbox, which is actually going to be also non-VR. And yeah, the main thing that I've been working on is making things look pretty good. So you can see here, let's just climb up this crate stack over here. Yeah. And you can see these objects as I stand on them. You can see the weight balance. I've been working on making sure the physics of the movement actually works properly. And yeah, pretty good. Weighting of objects I've done quite accurately as well. So these things quite light, although like they're not completely light. You can lift them completely up, but they're not super light. So you can't just like with one hand. You can see here I'm trying to lift it. I do have a spawning menu, which I'll get to in a moment. But yeah, so let's have a look at the objects very quickly. These metal ones pretty much can't lift them at all. You can see here, even with two hands. They don't lift. The legs are quite strong right now, so being able to grab things from bottom, you can lift them quite easily. And that goes for very heavy objects as well. Let's just grab these and bring them along. And get this out of the way. I've been working more on the architectural materials, as you can see here, making sure everything looks good, but at the same time performs well. So the aim here was to make sure that objects have a good sort of set of textures on them, but not too much. So I've sort of limited myself to one type of texture for each object. For example, here we're using a bump map, and that's it. So there's no specular maps, and there's no sort of ambient occlusion maps or anything like that. It's just brick, therefore I'm using a bump map. Whatever's sort of the most important thing to use on that material. And then that goes for all of the brick textures. For stuff like sand, grass, and soil, I've got obviously a specular map. And I think for grass I did I do an ambient occlusion? I don't think I did. Ooh, little bit of lag there. Looking at it here, it looks like I haven't done an ambient occlusion map. So yeah, one map on each material, just to minimize the amount of excess of performance being used here. So here we've got some nice metal looks, some tiled flat ground here, another type of solid material here, the concrete. It doesn't look too good right now. I'm gonna probably put another map on there. Here we've got some bronze type metal, and then of course we've just got regular crates. Now crates again, no bump map, just a specular handler here to make them look good. And there we go, same thing here. Is it a specular? I think it's only an ambient occlusion on these. They look pretty good in the dark area. Now over to the other props, and you can see exactly what I'm doing here as well. So with these as well, you can see it's a pretty good sort of ambient occlusion map happening. Is the ambient occlusion? No, it's a specular on these guys. Nice and easy. Now with these, I've actually done something a little bit fun. So these two types of barrels here, nice and light. You can see with one hand, So these are weighted appropriately. I think they're around 20 kg, which is just based on some basic internet research. Just how much does one of these barrels weigh? There you go. And then these two, same thing, right? Nice and light. They're just empty barrels. This one, however, this one and the red ones down there are much heavier because these are filled. So you can see here. Oh, try and lift it. You can just about lift it, and you can kind of. Oh, let me try and get it up. There we go. There we go. Nice and heavy. Now the cool thing here is, if you grab those, just like other heavy objects, and lift them up, and then drop them quite far. Bang! Oop. I'll probably do that with the super heavy objects instead. There you go. You get this smash effect as part of what I've been working on. So here again, really, really heavy. You can see Project Cola. Been working on some random textures. So I've textured everything pretty much, with some little bit of help from my earlier projects as well. So of course, all of these objects you can just sort of climb on top, and then of course with these, it's too heavy to even pull. If you pull it, actually, you might be able to. There we go, bang, nice and heavy, and still able to kind of push it around. These again, I've done the same thing with the other barrels, where I've got a nice light empty one. There we go, nice and easy to flip. And then you've got a super duper heavy one because this one's absolutely filled to the brim. And this affects the buoyancy as well. So you can actually see it once I throw things into the water, which I've added into the project now. Here, very heavy as well. Yeah. Oh. And of course, you can see these. There we go. I've lifted it full and it just doesn't go any higher. But the cool thing is, of course, if you grab these types of objects like this, then you can put it on your shoulder and you can lift it quite easily. Tires, again, same thing, nice and a specular map there to make them look good. They're not too heavy. These things again, same weight as the red ones, very heavy. And this, not too bad. Again, just based on the weight that you see on the internet. I've got these nice life rings, which are quite cool because you can actually put them on. You can actually just put your arms through, and then there we go. Full all the way through. Yeah, and that actually affects things as well, because obviously the buoyancy on these things is quite strong. It's supposed to keep a human afloat. So what I've done, unfortunately, I haven't got swimming in yet. I haven't bothered to program it yet. I've been mainly working on the more important interactions. So I added those things in, and you can actually just sort of swim and hover using them. These ladders, let's see if I can climb this without dropping it. Uh-oh, it's dropping. Yeah, so these again weighted appropriately. This one's light, this one's quite heavy because it's a much taller ladder. And then popping over here. And again, you can see, so here I've hung it on a rope. There we go. You can see I can climb it, and of course I can just hang inside of it. It's so funny. Yeah, that's the cool thing. So this is something that I've always wanted to be able to do, is be able to just sort of move as if your body is really there. It's not as simple as just having a ground system that simply goes down. Going down is not completely appropriate when you're able to go in through some rings and stuff like that. There you go. It's pretty cool. The weight really feels good when you're sort of lifting barrels and stuff. That's where the weight comes in. It really feels cool having this sort of accurately weighted object. And you can see I've been trying to work on lighting. You can see obviously I'm actually running on a laptop that is below the minimum requirements that Oculus recommends. And it's still pretty good. And bear in mind, I'm recording right now as well, and it's running smoothly. I mean, it's not full resolution, it's not full performance here, but you can see it looks good, and it's running pretty well. So I'm trying to get, after playing Half-Life Alyx, I wanted to get that feeling of where the graphics just look really good. Even though they're quite neat, they're quite tidy, They're not extreme, you know. It's not like every single object has an insane amount of texture mapping or anything like that. And of course the HDR lighting as well, when you switch this screen on, you can see it glows quite brightly. I've rendered these out in a nice test scene. Now the cool thing about this menu here, let's pop over to here. Cool thing about this menu is that all of these props, everything here, is actually something that you can pull from asset bundles. So I've already made it so that the game is open to modding, and that's the point. That's what I always wanted to do, is make sure that this is highly moddable. Yeah. I will be adding more sort of functional interactions later on to make sure things like this can actually spawn cans and stuff like that. So just very advanced stuff, rather than the simple sort of unusable props. My main aim is to make sure these things are functional props, where obviously explodable objects will explode, all that cool stuff. There you go, you can see that weight smash at the bottom. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Because obviously he's still standing on these things as well, which is a little bit problematic right now, but it's not too bad. Yeah, you can see I've modified this structure, which you've probably seen before. Pretty standard, thanks to Gmod. I've modified it to look a little bit different and have a little bit of difference in the way it functions. The cool thing, obviously, is being able to climb down things. Really feels quite natural as well. Let's pop over to there and have a look at some buoyancy. So we'll grab you, and then we'll grab, well, there's plenty of those anyway. Actually, we don't need any of those because we can spawn them, but we can just lift them like this. Yeah, the physics gun. The OP function of all reality. Ability to pick things up magically, just like that. Right, so let's have a look. Drop this on the floor. Now, objects do fall through the floor right now, because I haven't done anything to prevent that, but that's okay. Because it's all fine. There we go. Also this, really fun. If you leave that to balance, oh, probably not a good idea, just leave that to balance, and then click, and now you can balance one right on top. Perfect balance right there. But yeah, so there we go. Let's get these into the water. You can see how the buoyancy system activates on them. Quite nice. These are buoyant objects, so there we go. You can see how they'll roll on top of the water there. And then these are buoyant, but obviously, since they're filled with liquid, they wouldn't float the same way because the liquid will fall down to the longer part of the can. So there you go. This is quite realistic in the way that it would work in reality, where something that's filled with liquid would balance out like that, whereas an empty can would balance out like that, since there's more surface area. And then the same thing applies for these guys. There we go. And of course everything's a different weight, just based on what I could find online. Yeah. There we go. Nice and cool. Now obviously if we jump in, you can see I do sink to the bottom. There's no swimming or anything like that, but I can sort of float along. However, whoop, you can see if I've got a ring on, I'm able to just hover about. It's really cool. I love this. I absolutely love being able to put your arm through things, and then it just sort of hooks onto you, and now you can just sort of paddle along. And then of course you can also lift your body out there. Yeah. And then I just stood on top of that just now. And of course you can stand on things while they're floating as well. Oof. There you can see how I kicked it. Of course, they all sort of fall down as I pull them anyway. So, oh no! Whee! There we go. And yeah. So obviously the other cool thing is the ability to just spawn massive amounts of things. Click, 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 click. Click, 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 click. It's one of those things that is quite unusual. Most people don't really expect that being able to spawn lots and lots of objects is a good idea in VR because performance, blah blah blah. But it really isn't as bad as you think. Except when you spawn too many ladders and they all hook together like that. Which is not a good idea. But yeah, you can see, and they're all applying forces as well because they're all in water. They've all got this buoyancy system going on. It's all pretty cool. And then of course you've got these really heavy ones as well. You can see all the weight there. Oh, wrong thing. Whee! Really cool. Really cool. We've got more pools, of course. Whee! There we go. We've got more pools over here. There we go. Just drop these boxes in. And you can see they float, but they're a little bit less buoyant than the other things. And then of course you've got plenty of tires as well, which are a little bit more buoyant, and they sort of hover on top nice and flat as well. There we go, nice and cool. And then of course we've got the red gun to switch them off and delete them. All very cool, all very fun stuff. And that's pretty much it really. There's nothing more to it at the moment because I've been mainly working on just making this fun and feel good while you're moving about and while you're running. You can see I still haven't worked on the legs. I still haven't worked on the arms properly and the hand animations, the grip systems and stuff. But other than that, it's all really cool. There we go. Let's have some fun over here. You can see we can climb these barrels. Yeah. And then while we're on top, try and lean it over and pull it down. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, drop that down, stand on top, and try and roll it. Ugh. There we go. You can use your head. Ugh. Your head tends to be the sort of strongest part of the body, just because I want to track it properly. I want it to match the head tracking at all times, so it's sort of the strongest part of your body. Essentially, you can put pretty much most of your body weight into your head if you headbutt something like that. So you have the ability to sort of knock very heavy things over by running into them. Yeah. Unless, of course, they've got other heavy things on top of them. Nothing happening there. But, click. There we go. Ability to knock things over with your head. Nice and easy. But there you go. That's about it. I think that's pretty much everything. Other than balancing things on top of each other, which is, of course, pretty cool because you get to sort of have to maneuver your hands properly. Yeah. There we go. Stand that up. Click. And then try and lift it over. There we go. And then, of course, you can clamber right on top of it. And then balance around and drop it. That, I believe, is the end of this video. Other than me just sort of flying over to the other section of this little world, which I've been working on, just adding little areas. So if we spawn this here thing, drop it over, and then stand on top of it. Let me rotate it a little bit first. There we go. Stand on top of it, and then the age-old little fun thing to do with your physics is stand on top of an object while you're grabbing it. And there we go. We are now in water, in this giant pool, which is going to be featured in the next video probably more, because I'll probably have proper swimming done by then. But for now, let's just send in a bunch of these guys, throw them all into there, have fun in the pool, and then a bunch of tires. Ooh, very cool. There we go, you guys get in there. Yep, I threw the red gun as well. One thing I did also add was a little button. This is what I've been using for testing. So for example, let's say I'm doing something, blah blah blah, and then I'm like, you! There we go. This is how I test my VR. I can just freeze the game at any point. That is the end of this video. Thanks very much for watching. And I can't say goodbye because I am frozen. Goodbye.